All right, we're going to get ready and get started. For those who don't know me, my name is Jeremiah Reed. I'm the author of Mental Wealth, and I'm also a financial coach. And we're ending financially lit with preparing for the month of May. We're going to be walking through goal setting, creating a budget, and just kind of learning a little bit more about money in more of a practical way. I know a lot of our series was very principle based, but I want to bring it back home with some actual financial knowledge. So to get started, I kind of wanted to talk about what are some barriers to budgeting. If you guys want to give me some feedback on what kind of like roadblocks do you think budgeting brings, feel free. Does anybody have anything that kind of stops them from budgeting?
Yes. I think it's more for me. Discipline when you see things that you like. To me, it makes me feel kind of broke. Well, Murdoch said the same thing. Makes me feel broke because it's like, okay, I'm having to deal with this, but I know I got all this. You know.
Gotcha. No, that's real. Um, I had did some stats, and actually in America, 1 out of every 3 people actually have a budget. So if it was 3 people in the room, 2 people would not even do it, and that's kind of alarming to me because when you realize and look at and analyze the back end side of it, if you looked at the entire year, the average person in America spends 4.5 hours planning out their finances. Even though we spend money each and every day, we touch money each and every day, we buy things each and every day, but yet you're not actually planning for any of those things throughout the entire year, only 4 hours on average. So when you look at mental wealth, I want you to think, yeah, it could be some roadblocks, but I want you to see beyond the roadblocks and connect that to your destiny, your destination. It's hard to know where you're going if you don't sit down and think about it. And then once you sit down and think about it, if you create a plan on how to get there, you're more likely to succeed and actually get there. So just kind of think about some of those things as we go throughout this short presentation before we actually go into building a budget. So by definition, I looked this up on a dictionary, the amount of money that is available for, required for, um, or used for, assigned for a particular purpose. Really, that's a lot of fluff. In all honesty, a budget is very simple. It's just self-imposed boundaries to obtain financial independence. The reason why I pick self-imposed is because you have to guard yourself. Nobody's going to watch you when you're making a budget. If you cheat, if you cut corners, if you do any of those things, you are hurting yourself. No one will be impacted other than you and your household. So it's very important to understand that it's self-imposed boundaries. And keeping it simple as possible, when you create a budget, if your income is less than your expenses, you're in a bad position. If your income is equal to your expenses, you're still in a bad position because that means you don't have any room to actually build wealth, invest, or actually put things into your family or to yourself to get you to a better place. Now, if your income is greater than your expenses, or reverse, your expenses is less than your income, you're in a good shape because that creates margin for you to do more with your money. And so when we build your budget for May, hopefully we can get everybody into that either income greater than expenses or expenses less than your income. So you can be able to kind of build some short-term wealth for the month of May. When you actually get into a budget, you got fixed costs and you got variable costs. Fixed costs are those things that do not change. You can count on that payment to be the exact same each and every month. So for most people, that's either a rent, a mortgage. We can always count on that being the exact same every month. It could be a car note for you. It could be some insurance payment. One thing I want to highlight is paying yourself. That should be a constant number too, that you do each and every month. A lot of people get paid, pay everybody else, but then they never get a chance to actually pay themselves or invest in themselves. And I want you to make that a fixed cost. And then variable cost is kind of like the opposite of that. Those are the things that change up and down. So it could be food, it could be clothes, gas, because we can't control that price. And gas is super cheap right now. So that's a good way to save some money. Now, when you actually get into making a budget, it's really 7 steps. And I'm going to send these slides out to you too via email. But in step 1, you have to sit down with every single person in the household that's going to be impacted because they need to know what's going in behind this plan. You don't want to just make a budget and then say, hey, this is it, and not include the people in your household because they might be less likely to follow. Now, if you're a mother and you got kids, they're going to have to listen to you if they're not contributing in any form or fashion. But if you're living with another adult, please sit down with them, bring them into the fold, and make sure they understand. If your kid is old enough and he gets an allowance or she gets an allowance, bring them into the fold and let them know what's going on as well. Once you got everybody included, then you want to pick a time frame. Are we going to budget for the month? Are we going to budget for the quarter? Or are we going to budget for the entire year? All of my clients that I work with, we look at budgets on all 3 of those bases. I believe in annual budgets. I work for a lot of big companies and they do it. And the benefit of it is you can see the big picture. And once you can see the big picture, it can kind of help you plan the monthly, the weekly, or the quarterly. So you want to make sure you nail down your time frame. For us, we're going to be looking at May after we get done with this mini presentation. Then once you pick your time frame, you want to look at all the money coming in the house. This could be your paychecks from your job, your side hustles. This could be child support if you get child support. This is all the money coming inside of your house. Interest or dividends if you're investing or you got a money market account, all of that is income. So you want to make sure you account for that. Once you got that, you want to subtract all your fixed expenses, the things we discussed earlier. Once you take out those fixed expenses, you'll be at step 5. And then this is what you kind of have left to allocate to all those variable expenses that you might have. And then step 7 is about cover everything that you wrote down and stick to the plan. Sticking to the plan is the hardest part people do for 2 reasons. One, they don't track their transactions. So they just make the budget and never go back and revisit it. So they don't know where they are in the budget. And then the second thing is you kind of get that emotional play where you feel like, man, I'm broke or I can't do this, I can't do that. So you give up. But in reality, it goes back to understanding why we are building the budget in the first place. And that's because we're trying to get you to an accomplished goal. So I believe every budget should be tied to a goal because when you have a goal tied to it, that gives you a sense of purpose to understand why you're doing this. At the end of the day, regardless of who the financial guru is that you're listening to, or even myself, you can only solve a budget in 2 ways. You either make more money or spend less money. I wanted to keep this as simple as possible because I want people to understand that no matter what you do, it boils down to these 2 things. You either have to spend less or you have to make more. And your creativity is important in these decisions. You can either come up with great ideas to make more money, or you have to be very creative and figure out what you need to cut to spend less money when it comes to making a budget. I have a generic budget that I made. Budget templates are free. I'm going to show you one. I emailed it out, one from Google that I got. But feel free if you want to continue this conversation and making a budget with me. Shoot me an email, give me a call. I will be happy to help you not only plan May, but any future month, future year as well. It's very important to me that I began to set the foundation for every single one that's here on the call today to not only become wealthy in finances, but just understanding discipline and also how that can roll over into other parts of your life and help you be successful. And again, I'm going to send this out, and I got some more kind of templates and things like that on my website. But I'm about to transition into the actual budget. Before we go into that actual budget, I wanted to see, does anybody have any questions so far about anything that I kind of talked about? I see some stuff in the chat. Feel free to type it or chime in.
Hey Jeremiah, my question is: when you talk about transactions, can
Mhm.
you explain more as far as going back and looking at it? You know, I know we all can look at it on our phone and see what we spent, but is there a specific thing we should be looking for, or how do you go about that?
Sure, great question. So it's very simple. So for every time you spend money or make money, it needs to be recorded. So there's budgets on apps like Mint, Every Dollar, Credit Karma has like a budget. Whatever form you choose to check, it's all about rhythm. So for me personally, I check and put in my transactions every single day because I hate letting them pile up and doing them at the end of the week or trying to do them at the end of the month. So every single day that I make a purchase, I go in and I code that transaction every single day. Now, this takes repetition and kind of building a financial muscle to do this. But in reality, once you figure out your cadence of what you like to do, whether it's daily, weekly, or at the end of the month, it's going to become very easy to you the more you continue to do it. And when I pull up the actual budget that we're going to go through, I'll show you on here from a computer version how to quote unquote make that transaction. But just giving an example, let's say you went to Walmart, you got some groceries and you bought some household supplies. The total came to 80 bucks, $60 for groceries, $20 for household supplies. You would go back to your budget wherever you created it and you will log that transaction. You would say $60 Walmart, $20 household items Walmart, and you spent 80 bucks. Now that's accounted for. Did that answer your question, Gabrielle?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Normally, do you normally do that, Jeremiah, on a spreadsheet like that, or do you do it like on an app when you do it?
So when I'm doing quarterly ones, I do it on a spreadsheet. When I'm doing month to month, I use the app because it's much quicker.
Or like your daily? When would you do? Would you do your daily on an app or?
Yep, on the app.
Okay. Which
Mhm.
one do you use?
So I'm blessed. I have a credit union called Elements Financial, and
Oh,
they have it built in. So I just log right into Elements, and I can code all the transactions. Before Elements, I used Every Dollar. That one's a pretty good one, and I also have used Mint before as well. But I like Every Dollar better than Mint.
okay.
Yeah, the free version. You don't have to pay for the paid version unless you're
Oh,
lazy.
I don't think I even knew there was paid versions.
Yeah, so budget companies have gotten smart. So basically, every time you slide your debit card, they will code your transaction for you so you don't have to do it. But of course, for that convenience, you're going to have to pay for it. It usually ranges $10 to $15 a month. All right. Any other questions about budget before we go into a real example of one?
Yes. One last one, Jeremiah. So when you're trying to go back and you reflect on what you spent or code or whatnot, you're
Mhm.
doing that for like your mental standpoint as far as trying to make sure you're staying within your budget,
Yep.
or okay.
Yes, so it does two things. One, it helps with the discipline side. So let's say in your total food budget, you had $200. You already spent $60. So now you know you got 140 left. So now the next time you go to the store, you're going to be more conscious of what you have to spend. So that might dictate, do you get chicken today or do you get steak? Because you got 140 and you know everything that you want to get at the grocery store with that 140. So that's where the physical discipline. And from a mental standpoint, you just have clarity and understanding about your money. So when people come to you, let's say somebody asked you for $10, you can say, hey, I got room in my budget to get this person 10, or actually, I really can't help you right now. I'm so sorry. I got all of my money kind of allotted for a special reason, and I can't make any cuts right now to give you $10. And when you tell somebody that, you can honestly say it with truth and you're not lying to them because you planned it out.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
Jeremiah, I have a question as well.
Okay. What's up?
So I have the opposite issue. I'm very disciplined. I actually stick to it. I have a monthly budget. I haven't done a quarter or annually before.
Mm-hmm.
But my issue is I don't like pay myself or allocate leisurely activities because as a single parent, everything goes to my children and,
Mm-hmm.
the necessities. So how could I incorporate that? Because I find myself in the less income and more expenses, as a single parent, but everything goes to bills basically. And like I said to my boys, so
Okay.
the only way I can foresee that is making more money, but
Uh-huh.
that's not happening yet. So
Not happening yet. No, I got
yeah,
you. So, how old are your sons, if you don't mind?
I have, excuse me, a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Gotcha. Okay. So, at least for the 13-year-old, I want you to kind of think creativity with your son. It might be, hey son, I'm going to take $50 this month, and we're going to buy, let's say, I don't know if you know how to bake or cook, but we're going to bake sweet potato pies, and we're going to try to sell these sweet potato pies. It might not be quote unquote fun in that moment, but you can build a relationship with your 13-year-old and potentially make some money the same way. But I always encourage for people to figure out a way to give yourself something, even if it's $5 or $10, because mentally you're going to be so much more invested in yourself and in the journey because you're going to see that number grow. You're not going to be content with only giving yourself $5 or $10. You're going to want that number to grow. So that'll push you to think of more creative ways to make money. And also, it'll just open more doors because you'll be thinking about the big picture of, hey, I need to invest more into myself so I can get to this level. It's very similar
And
to
I'm not,
school. Oh, what do you
I
want
was
to
going
say?
to say, I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but because we're in quarantine, it might be the time to maybe find a side hustle you can do from home. And maybe if I'm out of line, tell me, Jeremiah. But now I think people are a little bit more in control of their time. Whereas if you had to actually go into your office, it might be hard to do another side hustle. But now you can kind of be a little, can finagle your time. And your kids sound old enough that they could, be on their own for a little while without you having to be right there every moment of the day.
No,
That's true.
that's
Thanks.
very true. I don't know if you heard of VIP Kids, but that's a cool
I was going to
side hustle.
suggest that because I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of my clients have done VIP. You teach English to some Chinese students, and it's a quick way and a legit way to make some extra money.
Did Salam
Okay.
do it or she started to and she did it? I don't remember.
She started, and then she ended up working at a car wash when we were on our debt-free journey.
Okay.
Okay.
I can give my referral code if anybody's interested.
I'm interested.
Drop it in the chat box, Brandy.
Okay, I'll drop my email there too because I have a little reference guide for help if people are interested in starting.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Brandy. Okay. Any more questions before we go
Yeah,
into?
I have one more question, Jeremiah.
No, you're good.
I got a lot of questions. Sorry. As a beginner doing a budget and trying to get a hold of the budget and understand it, should you have a quarterly budget or should you stick with 2 weeks and then work your way into a month and then work your way into, doing quarterly? Or, because
Okay.
my opinion, what's the purpose of a quarterly if you're just now starting out?
Gotcha. So the first thing you would want to do is start off with a month budget. Start off with 1 month. And then we will look at that 1 month together and analyze it and try to predict what expenses are consistent and what things are kind of like crazy. So for example, we're going into May. May is Mother's Day. Assuming you know your mom, you have a great relationship with her, you might want to spend more money in May for Mother's Day because if you're going to give your mom a gift. That's not an everyday expense, but you're going to have to put that in the budget for May. Now, that won't be there for, June, but Father's Day will. So are you going to get the same type of gift for your dad? Are you going to spend more? Are you going to spend less? These are things you think about when you look at quarterly budgets to help you plan. Now, the benefit of doing an annual one is you can plan out the whole year. And you can do Christmas shopping in February if you see a deal, because you know how much money you're going to put towards that certain holiday, birthday, vacation, whatever the case might be. So that's the benefit of it. But I do recommend at least doing 1 month first, unless you have like variable income in every single like week. Like if you're like a contractor, or if you do like nails, or you're a barber, and week to week is different, then I would recommend doing like a weekly budget or a 2-week budget. But if you have a consistent income, at least start off with a month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, I'm about to go ahead and switch screens. All right, so I had sent this in an email. Some people might not have got it because I sent them just a Zoom link, but here's a template I found on Google Spreadsheets. I kind of like rebranded it with my coloring, but it's very simple. So for those who do have it, feel free to walk through this sheet with me with your own numbers. If not, I'm going to use my numbers, unless we have a brave volunteer that wants me to do their budget in front of everybody. Does anybody want to volunteer for that? Nah, it's all right. It's cool. All right. So I try to make sure each and every month, every dollar is accounted for and spent. But just for this purpose, I left $50 left. So that means at the end of April, I'm going to have $50 of cash. Okay. So I'll put the starting balance there. This might be zero for you if you have no money left for April, or it might be 100. But whatever you're going to start the month with, May 1st, you're going to put there. Okay.
Now, is the aim to be zero, even if it means you put it in savings and some you allotted to yourself? Is the aim to be zero every month?
Yep. The aim is to be zero. Every dollar should be accounted for. So it should be zero. This is called zero-based budgeting, by the way.
So you said the starting balance is, let's say it's zero. That means that you have nothing left.
Yep, everything was
Okay.
accounted for April. So we can make it zero here. So that meant at the end of April, all my money was accounted for. I either put it in savings, I spent it, paid a bill, whatever the case might have been. Technically, all the money is gone. Okay. So for here, I'll just put zero for this one.
Sorry we keep interrupting you, but I have a question. If you gave yourself an allowance, yeah, it accounted for to put it at zero, but what if you didn't spend your allowance? Would you just save that in another account? Like so that your allowance, like, like they talked about last week, if you want to surprise somebody with like your spouse with a gift, if you have one account, it's not that they didn't know you had the money, but it's just that maybe you just were saving that money to add up, to the gift that you wanted to get. Would you just have that somewhere else if this was still zero, or what?
Actually, you would still bring that over here. Your allowance you
Okay.
didn't spend, you will roll that over into the next month.
Okay.
Yep. Unless you had withdrew the money out physically and put $100 like in your purse or at home or whatever. But if it's still in
Gotcha.
your account, you will leave it here and roll it over.
Okay.
So this sheet, what the reason why I picked it was it's very simple and it's very easy, despite it might look a little crazy. So the first thing you do in these boxes, you put your income, okay? So these are the two incomes coming right now in our household, okay? 3,600 and 1,100. We don't got any bonuses, no support, no overtime, no side jobs. I didn't anticipate no rental incomes, don't have any rental property. Right now, we're just right here at this number. So we got it, and this is take home pay. So this is after tax, and this is after I paid my child support as well. So it's 4,700 bucks. That's what we have to work with in the Reed household right now. Okay. So once you put your income in, you come over here. You look at your fixed expenses, the ones I was telling you about. So you got your mortgage, or in this case, my mortgage. How much you gonna spend on food? We're spending $500 a month. I got a pregnant wife, so and two little kids that love to eat. My utilities. We don't have any car payments. We got a baby on the way, so I want to save $1,000. I believe in giving, So I'm giving $550 to the church, internet, cell phone, gas. You begin to just put these things down. It's very important that you know your numbers. So put this all in, got everything that I need. I want to highlight a couple areas, right? So life insurance is a big one. I know a lot of Black people, especially, don't like life insurance. They might think it's a ripoff. But I'm not here to sell you on whether you want whole life or term. I personally have term life insurance, but you need some type of insurance to cover. I've been to a lot of funerals, and it's very sad to go to a funeral. The family struggling to pay for it. There's no money. So if something were to happen to you and you were to pass away, please don't be a burden to your family. Get yourself some life insurance. Leave your kids some money. This is a great way to build wealth for the next generation if you can really obtain wealth during your time while you were living. So make sure you get some insurance. We can talk about the limit that you need. It all kind of depends on your lifestyle and your household. But so that's us on all our kids and us. Household items, gifts, personal allowance. So this is everyone in the house. So that's me paying my daughter her allowance, my allowance, Salam's allowance, and then we're dropping $100 in the kids' college fund. Okay. These categories.
Why do you have a different number in planned on your income between planned and actual?
Yeah, so I did that on purpose. So these two numbers here for planned on this side is 47, and I over plan for my expenses on purpose. So I can show you like a scenario where we got to cut back. So once you get all your numbers in, these are the categories. It might be different for you. You might have different categories, but you need to make sure everything is accounted for. The number one budgeting mistake that most people do is put miscellaneous or other. Do not put those categories on your budget.
It's gonna be kids.
Can you please mute?
Oops.
Thank you. But the number one issue that most people do, they put miscellaneous and other on their budget. What this means is you did not plan for it, and therefore you just threw it into the other category or the miscellaneous category. And that category can be abused. So I don't use it at all. So if I didn't plan for it and I need to do something, I actually redo my entire budget. So let's say I hit a pothole, I got to get some tires. I immediately come over here to maintenance, and then I'm gonna have to put 300 here. Then that means I'm gonna have to readjust something over here to make up for it. Instead of saving 1,000 for my future kid, I might have to save 700 because I had to get some tires, whatever the case might be. But you got to be willing to pivot. So once you get all of those numbers in, you take a look. So for me, I'm over budget by $153. So that means I got a problem. So I can either try to hustle up some more income to cover that, or I can come over here and see what can I cut. So looking at this, I'd be like, well, maybe I need to cut down personal allowance. Maybe I might drop that to 150. And then household items, maybe we didn't need as much as I thought. I look downstairs, we got tissue, we got cleaning supplies, everything good. Maybe I only need 200 here. So once I'm doing that, I'm looking at it, I got a little bit of buffer, which I say you should always have because you never know what's gonna happen. So plan 47, I'm spending 46.78. So I think that's a pretty good budget. Now, when you go to your transactions, this is the part where I was telling you that you need to code it. I'll put something in here. But let's say I'm spending $1,000 today. I'm paying my rent. I put that under there as mortgage and rent. I also got paid today, $1,500. I put my paycheck description in there and that. So let's say for tomorrow, I'm gonna go to church, watch it online. I'm gonna give them 200. I put church, and then I code that under given. So now when I go back to my sheet over here, as you can see, it says, hey, I gave 200 bucks. I got $350 left in my budget. That was 550. Okay. So you do this all month long, record all your transactions, and then you'll be able to see when you get done how much was totally saved, how much extra went into savings. And that's what you do month after month after month to build that repetition and build up that financial muscle. Does anybody have any questions about this spreadsheet or their budget if they were following along with me?
That was actually pretty simple one. That's,
Yeah,
and it already had the formulas in it for the transaction, so that was cool.
yeah. So I'm gonna take a guess. Everyone on here is probably under the age of 44. I'm gonna guess. Um, I did
Look, I
some.
know you raised that just for me. It's cool. It's cool.
It's cool, man. We didn't, Brandy. You know you look like you're 21, but people under the age of 44 typically have anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000 saved up, and that number is very low, considering how much life you have lived, and that's all you got to your name saved up. So I wanted to bring this back home and just think about the importance of what this budget really is. Yes, it's strict. Yes, you made it. You have to stick to it. But it's all about creating that freedom for you, your family, and the people you love in the future. If you're disciplined now to put back $10, $20, $50, whatever it is to hit that goal where you can begin to have some freedom for yourself, then you will be able to truly do what God called you to do, whatever your purpose is. A lot of you might have dreams. You might want to do something, but then you go back to, I can't afford it. Somebody might want to go further their education, but they can't afford it. Somebody might be trying to start a business, but they can't afford it because they're so bound by debt and what this society has done. And in order for you to be countercultural and go away from the norms of life, it's going to take some discipline. And a budget is a finite thing, it's very black and white, but with an infinite mindset of seeing beyond what you see on this page or look at it every single month, you can truly attain financial independence. So hopefully you guys really understood what a budget is, why it makes sense, why it's so important, and why you need goals. Because once you have a goal, you can set a plan, and a budget is a plan to help you get there. So I'm about to stop the video. Coming back, I just want to, I know a couple of you have came to every single week. And I want to say thank you for that. It means a lot to me to see you each and every week, put the dedication in and really try to learn and grow. And that's very important to me. Just want to make sure that I leave no question unanswered when it comes as far as budgets. I'm a nerd. I look at numbers all day, every day. This stuff excites me. Some people, it probably scares them or make them bored, but I noticed today is not as sexy as other classes that we had, but it's very important.
I'd say I can't speak for sure for everybody else, but I know I appreciate you and your financial guidance and support, and just Jeremiah definitely helped me pay off all my debt within a year. Just helping me look at my numbers and plan. I mean, it was definitely sacrifice, but it pays off in the end.
Yeah, thank you, Brandy. You were easy to work with. You had the will to do it.
Thank you. And it did include moving home with my family. So I'll just say that when I say like sacrifice, you know what I mean? Like I never thought I'd be over in my 40s like living at home, but it was worth it. And
Yeah,
besides, my mom cooks good food in the end. I was like, okay, it's really worth it.
cool. Sequoia, so you got your budget ready for May? Or you got to make
I
some more
was
tweaks?
I was just texting in the chat. I had some slip ups, so I'm actually redoing my budget right now as we speak. I did not have like those list of transactions, and once I established my emergency fund, I'm not gonna lie, it was easy to kind of spend money because I was like, oh, I got my emergency fund. I kind of lost control, so I was like, okay, I have to like revisit my budget, and I had two budgets that I did not create. So I had to create one for me that fit my organization style. That was easy for me to read, easy for me to put stuff in. So now I am like tracking every transactions down to the item. Like I have a column where it's just like wasted money. So I can see like this, how much money you wasted. I'm tracking every yes, like I definitely needed this class because I had to start from square one and just work it back up and then start working that thing.
Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear you're on the right track. Appreciate you for tuning in, for sure. Merhawit, are you on here?
I am. Hi.
What's up? You're all the way across the world. Are you making a budget in Botswana?
I actually got evacuated back.
Oh,
COVID-19 is treating all of us in very special ways. So right now, I guess a bit different from those that are making money maybe every 2 weeks or every month. I got my stimulus check and I got a wellness check. And I don't know when the next time I'm gonna get any kind of money at all. So I'm cruising. I am also back at my parents' house. Shout out to all of us grown folks living with their parents. So just trying to make it happen.
okay. That's understandable. Well, let me
I
know
think
if you,
that's kind of a good question, though. Like right now, some of us are a little bit unsure of our income. Like, how would you recommend trying to budget or do something with that, given in the time where we are?
definitely. So, whenever it's uncertainty around your income, you immediately have to protect what I call the four walls. You need to make sure you have a roof over your head, food to eat, you pay your utilities, and you take care of your transportation. Okay. Those are the main four things that you have to be worried about. All the rest of the stuff goes out. You need to take care of those four things. So if you got enough money to cover those four things, you just pretty much go into survivor mode until you're able to get some steady income and get back on, track. But making sure definitely if you got a place where you can go back home and stay with some parents, that's a blessing. So taking advantage of that and just protecting your four walls, making sure that you're going to be okay. If you got kids, it's very important that you protect your four walls. Making sure you got food to eat, lights, you can handle everything. And when I say utilities, that includes phone too. I know it's built into our lives, so you want to make sure you can keep your phone on. But some of the extra stuff you just gonna have to cut out for now while you're in survival mode. You won't be there forever. Just know you in that season and you gotta buckle down.
Hey, bro, I got a question.
Yeah.
You had a quote at the beginning where you talked about margins and like the relationship between your income and your expenses,
Mhm.
spending less money or making more money. But you had a quote with a bunch of M's in it, bro. I want to make sure I write it down. It kind of stuck really well. So can you run that
Bro,
quote? I don't know if you remember, bro.
man, that was off the top of the head. I'm gonna have to
That was a
listen.
bar. If that was off the top of the head, bro, that was a bar, bro. That was a bar, bro. Need the
Thanks,
recording
man.
for
I'm gonna
sure.
have to listen to the recording and get that back to you for sure.
All
But
right.
yeah, I'll take a listen to it.
All right. Appreciate you, bro.
No, thanks,
I
man.
have another question.
Yeah,
How do you decide how much you pay yourself?
it's a great question. So it depends on two main variables, okay? How much debt you have determines how much you're gonna pay yourself, because you a slave to the lender. So if you got a whole bunch of money you owe other people, you ain't gonna have that much money to pay yourself. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, after you take care of all your fixed expenses, then you take a look at how much can I pay myself. Like that should immediately be the very next thing. So, of course, you know, when you're in debt, everybody want their minimum payment, right? You owe MasterCard. MasterCard say, I don't care what you got going on, I want at least $35 a month from you. You owe Amazon credit card. Jeff Bezos said, I want $50 a month minimum from you. So you're gonna have to take care of all those obligations, and that eat away how much you can pay yourself. So depending on how much debt you got, and then how much money you got left over from your fixed expenses, that will determine how much you can pay yourself. Um, for me personally, I always at least tried to pay myself 10%. I tried to figure out a way how to make it work, at least pay myself 10%. I felt like that was a good place to start. Not everyone can start at that, but that was the number I was striving for out the gate, is to pay myself 10%. Good question though.
Yourself 10%, how much were you putting in savings?
It all depends. So like whenever I have a baby on the way, I try to put as much as savings as possible. But I always at least put 500 in savings, and paying myself for me was probably like 100, 200 bucks a month, 250, just depends. And then if my wife is on board, we won't even take an allowance. We just pay ourselves. For like example, writing this book, it was a $4,000 commitment. So me and my wife pretty much was behind that vision, paying ourselves to get that done. So we can pour into our future financial coaching, helping people be better organized and things like that. So
Sorry, one more question. Is your savings the same thing as your emergency fund, or that's different?
it's different. So once you
Because I
hit your
wasn't sure on that budget. I couldn't remember if I saw emergency fund on that one or no.
nah, so like my emergency fund is fully funded, so I'm not putting any more money in it. So it's either being invested or saved for like a family. But that's a good thing to bring up, because I failed to mention that distinction. If you don't have an emergency fund, that got to be a line item um, to get you there. In today's world, I say $3,000 at least for a single person, 5,000 for a family, based on where and how we live for an
And then
emergency
Can
for
fund.
I?
the savings you're just saving for whatever y'all decide, or is it for something specific?
So it could be for a future item we want to purchase, a vacation. It can be for a business. Yeah, your savings could be totally different. And then our investments are taken out before we even get our money. So it's not included in our take home pay if I choose to invest. But if I wanted to do extra investments, I would put something, another line item. If I wanted to buy some stocks or something like that, I have a line item for that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, do you have advice for people, like you say you're a numbers person, for people that's like not really numbers, you know, like number savvy? I'm not gonna say like I have a lot of debt. I can like maneuver my money how I need to. It's just that I'm not really smart financial wise, and then like not focused. So I just need, do you like have any examples of helping people in that, type of predicament and whatnot?
Yeah, sure, sister. So the biggest thing is when it comes to this personal finance, whenever I work with somebody, I want to show them that they are smart, right? They might not have the focus or the love for it that I have, but they can do it. This is basic adding and subtracting, multiplication and division. If you can do those four things, you can manage money. There are complicated things when it comes to investing and things like that, But from the overall stewardship of money, if you can do those 4 things, sister, you can do anything when it comes to personal finance. So I sit down, I kind of figure out, one, where the lack of confidence is coming from, what mental thing is causing that lack of confidence or that lack of focus. We attack that. Usually, if I can tie you back to your purpose of what you want to do and why you want to do it, that can give you enough motivation to put the work in to become more focused and more disciplined financially to pursue your goals. Um, so I'm open to helping you one-on-one. If you want to work with me, we do 5 sessions. It usually take 5 months for my program for you to come through with me. I like to spend time with you, teach you, and then let you go. I don't want you to be dependent on me for everything. I want to give you what you need to be successful with your finances.
Definitely. So yeah, because with me, it's like I'm motivated to save for, like, now, I'm working on saving for my son, and that habit has become like not even a thought anymore. But like for myself, I haven't had the discipline or the focus, and I haven't really ran into anybody that like promote working with people in that aspect. Like, I don't have too many financial difficulties, but I'm not too focused, and I just really don't, you, like you said, find out where the problem stem from and, redirect your focus. But that's what I mainly need to work on. So that's why I kind of was driven to your mentality.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. In the chat box, if you just want to put your name in there, and then I'll match that with the one you signed up with, and I'll send you a personal email. We can get together and work on getting you to a better place and figuring out what you really want to do with your life and what you love, and then tying that back to your money. I had another question come through the chat. How did you decide your emergency fund was fully funded? So I had a target of 5 grand, and I based it on my lifestyle, how I live, and what I wanted to do. 5 grand covered enough for me where I felt okay. If I had an emergency, I can cover it. Like I said, I don't have car loans or anything like that. So tire blow, my car's in good shape. I take care of them. So that should be minor maintenance, brakes, things like that. I can cover that. Um, if I so happen in COVID-19, I don't know when you guys looked at my budget, but one of the incomes was only $1,100 a month. My wife was impacted by COVID-19, so that got cut. But because we were in a financial position, we can handle that. So if my pay were to get cut in half or I'll lose it, I have enough money to get me afloat for at least 3 months.
I was just going to ask that. I was just going to ask, like, now we never imagined a pandemic. Do you think you would, when things are back up to quote unquote normal, do you think you would, oops, I realize the mic's up here, sorry. Do you think you would increase your emergency fund now, just in case something like this was to happen again, or you still feel comfortable with where y'all had it?
So for me, I believe in order to handle something like a pandemic, you need to increase your sources of income. You need to get more money coming in from different places. So for me, the goal would be to not really pad the emergency fund, but invest money in different avenues that could potentially make money for me while one of my sources were down. But I will leave it as 5. Now, once my kid get here in September, I might bump it up. That's another mouth to feed. Might go to 7. But I wouldn't put too much money in there because, again, when you got an emergency fund, you're putting your money into an account that gets you anywhere between 2 to 3%. So you're not really making that much money on your money. So I don't want to put too much in there and just have it sitting around. But as my lifestyle changes and as more people come in my household, I'm going to have to put more. But for right now, I think 5 to 7 might be my sweet spot.
Thank you. That was good. I just wasn't sure.
No, you're good. I had another question I overskipped. Is it bad to let certain changes in your life settle before you start a budget? For example, my wife just got a raise. We aren't sure how that's going to look on the paycheck. And with me going to have, I'm getting a house built soon, that comes with different bills. So in that scenario, you got a lot of different variables coming in, but that should not prevent you from creating a budget. So in that situation, you assume the worst, okay? So let's say your wife makes $15 an hour. She's about to get ready to be promoted. She's gonna make 20. But you don't know yet because she hasn't really got that paycheck yet. You make your budget on 15 until she get paid the 20, and then we increase and redo the budget when the increase comes in. You haven't got your house built yet. You don't know what those bills are. You make your budget based on the bills you currently have. And then when your new bills come in with your new house, you recalculate and redo the budget. But don't let that stop you from making a budget now. I hope I answered that question. It's just for you. You're gonna have to put in a little bit more work because it's gonna be changing. 30 days from now, 15 days from now, it's gonna be a moving needle. So you're gonna have to be on top of your numbers more frequently than somebody else that has a more stable situation. I'm working on a budget as far as being unemployed and living off my savings currently. That one was unclear. In that situation though, if you're living off your savings and you're got the unemployment coming in, I'm assuming you staying hungry looking for other opportunities and jobs, and you need to calculate how much time you got left in your savings before you need to, quote unquote, go take a job that you might not want just to make ends meet. I'll give you a hypothetical situation. If I lost my job and I ran out of my emergency fund money and the only job was Walmart, I'll be working at Walmart until I get something together. Because I have a family and you got to do what you got to do when it's crunch time. But I'll be praying for you, brother. Hopefully you get a job. That's what I'm going to be praying for. I don't want you to be unemployed. All right, I think I answered
There
all
are
of
there are quite a few people hiring still. I mean, I would say depends on your health and your willingness to go out because like Shipt and Instacart, grocery delivery services. I'm technically a Shipt shopper, but as soon as I signed up was right when that pandemic happened, and I decided I didn't want to be out. But somebody wrote in the chat the other day they got $1,000 tip. People are like in the feeling of being generous right now. So there are some other side hustles and gigs. I'm the queen of a side hustle, but that are available now, even during the pandemic. So if you can't get a traditional job or what you thought your job was going to be, there are some things out there that are still able to earn some income during this time, depending on how you feel about leaving the house. And I know Amazon warehouses as well, and stuff like that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing, Brandy. It was one question I did not answer. I don't include child support into my budget. It goes directly to my boys. I don't touch it. Is that unwise? Uh, I would say you should account for it because your boys are in your household. I'm assuming that you're doing exactly what the child support was for, that you're not abusing it. You're using it to provide for your children. So if you're doing that, that number needs to go in to your income number. If your kids are using that money for food and things like that, that needs to go into it because you are one household. You're not a household divided. You might give them ownership of their, because they're might be older in age. You might say, hey, son, or hey, daughter, you got, 150 from your daddy, okay? You got $200 from your daddy. I'm putting this in a budget. Help me make the budget this month. Hey, with your $200, what do you want to do with it? What can you buy? Like, make sure you're still stewarding their money because they might not be in a financial understanding to make the right decision, depending on how young they are. But again, if you're not abusing the money was for them. You need to bring it into the household. Hope they answered your question. Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, I really appreciate it. All of you tuning in. Oh, what's up?
I'm sorry.
You good?
My question is, so when you're trying to pay your car note and student loans while trying to save, how do you kind of divvy that out, whether it be with percentages, knowing how much to give? I don't want to wait till I graduate my master's to then start paying off. I want to start doing it now, little by little, so when that time comes, I can already be in a routine. I can kind of get it done. Like I said, you help someone else pay off their loans in a year. I need that. I need some help with that. I need that energy. I need all that. I need the energy.
Yeah. So Brandy was super motivated, and you sound like you're super motivated too. So it comes down to how much are you willing to sacrifice. So me and my wife, we paid off $210,000 in 4 years and 10 months, but that took extreme sacrifice. So we lived in a small apartment for majority of that time. We also didn't go on no vacations. We didn't really do anything, quote unquote, the normal way. We might have, I think we took one trip to Santa Claus land, whatever it was. We went there before, you know. We couldn't afford to go anywhere else. They had a cheap discount. We went to Kentucky Kingdom for like $30. So you got to be very strategic and saying, hey, we're going to have fun, but at the same time, we're going to be extremely disciplined. Um, I didn't eat lamb chops. That was my favorite food, but I didn't eat lamb when I was in debt. I ate chicken and turkey the whole time. So you got to figure out like, what are you willing to cut back so you can begin to pay off some of the people that you owe. And if you got that kind of mentality where you willing to make that sacrifice for the short term, because it won't last always, you can see yourself on the other side. But again, I'll sit down with you too and kind of go through your entire budget, look at your debt, and then try to figure out what can we cut and how much money can we create by doing side hustles, living in other places, looking at your insurance packages that you have, seeing where can we cut, and figuring out how can we throw as much as possible on the debt.
Just to chime in on that, I called 2019 No Spend 2019. And when I say it, like I meant it, I did not buy one article of clothing, did not buy one pair of shoes, and y'all, shoes is my thing. But I mean, I had more than enough. But then, and that's how it started out. But then I was like, you know what? I don't need to get my nails done. So I got some little home pedicure stuff to do with pedicures. And I think I got my hair done only once, like, because I needed a trim. Like, I just really needed trim, and that is a little bit beyond my capability. But outside of that, I washed and did this stuff myself, just like wore a wig instead of getting weaves. Like I wasn't playing. I did not spend any money on anything extra. And I said I could get like underwear or whatever if I needed it, because that's obviously like a need. But when I even looked at it, I didn't even need that. So I just like literally cut out. Oh, Jeremiah helped me. I was allowed $20 a week to go out to eat. And so if I can't say he allowed me, he advised me and I followed it. But if I knew I wanted to go out like somewhere more expensive, then that meant I could only go out to eat maybe once that month, right? Because I only had a weekly budget of $20. But if I knew I wanted to go somewhere nicer, then I, save up my 2 weeks of $20 or $40. But it got so contagious for me that I didn't even eat out. I ate out. I could count the few times that I ate out last year, just because I was like on a mission. And I think in the end it was about 27,000 I paid off in a year.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's just it is a mindset though. You have to be ready for it.
yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
I have a question, but I can email you. I know we coming up on our hour limit.
Oh no, you're good. Shout out to my mother. She was like, son, stop being cheap, pay for everything. So you got unlimited time.
Okay, good. So I have extra income coming in, but I do not want to mix it with like my household stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
now I just have money like literally just sitting around, and I'm also afraid to pay myself and my business partner because I don't want to have to invest out of my money, my own money, and then it alters my budget. So I'm kind of confused about, okay, I got this money, it's just sitting around, I'm not doing nothing with it, and I'm kind of scared to touch it because I don't want it to interfere with the things that I already have going on.
Okay. So you have a side hustle that turned into a legit business. That's what you're shooting towards. So you got to begin to think like a business owner. So the first thing you need to do is get you a business account set up. And the money sitting around needs to go into the business account. And then you and your business partner need to decide, are we going to invest this money back into the business? If we are, what does that look like? Are we going to get better equipment? Are we going to get better cameras? Are we going to get different clothes? Whatever the case might be, So the money is working towards a purpose and not just sitting around. Or is it, hey, we're going to pay ourselves because we've been working hard and I'm happy we got this off. So we at least going to give ourselves $200. We're going to do something else with the rest of the money, but we at least going to give ourselves $200. And then that way you put the $200, if you decide to pay yourself, into your personal budget as an extra source of income. I hope that helped.
Yes, it did.
Gotcha. But yeah, you need to separate it. You're a business owner. You got to think different. Okay. Cool. All right. I think that's everything. Again, super excited for you guys. A lot of people sign up and say they want to be serious about their money and learn about budgeting, but not everybody come through or follow through. And you guys did. So I truly appreciate that. I'm going to close out with a prayer. If you guys are offended by that, feel free to log off. I'm going to just say a prayer quickly over our finances. Dear Lord God, we just come to you this Saturday. Father, we just want to thank you for your time and your wisdom that you allowed to be present today. Lord, I ask that you continue to look over each and every person that is tuned in. Help them, Lord, make room in their budgets to live out their purpose and to bring you glory. Father, I pray for creativity. I pray for resilience. I pray for persistence to continue during this journey of financial freedom for each and every single person that's on today. Lord, I also ask for your protection. I rebuke any type of hurt or harm to come towards these people. I pray for my brother who is still in need of employment. Pray, Lord, that you bring something his way that he can do to get him out of his rut. I pray also too for my sister to just get more income to support her family and break the cycle of having more expenses than her income. So Lord, you know all these issues and you know all these things. And I'm confident that you are a supplier of all our needs. So Lord, I just rest and find peace in that. And I thank you for the time that you allowed us to spend today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Hey,
Appreciate
Jeremiah,
it.
can I just send you an email to kind of set up a time to talk with you, or?
Yeah, shoot me an email. And then it was also another person too. They can shoot me an email. Jeremiah, you can do mental wealth at jeremiahreed.com and I will respond to you as soon as I get it. All right. Thank you so much, Gabrielle.
Thank you.